This podcast was recorded by bkrpodcast.com.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. And, of course, you can reach us on Twitter and Facebook at carlnelsonshow.com. Our guest this hour is going to be Glen Ford. Glen, of course, writes for the Black Agenda Report, unabashedly leftist, if you will, if you want to call it that, or progressive. But also, Glen used to work here at WOL. Some of you may remember back in the day. Before we get to Glen, let me have Freedom finish up what he was saying. Freedom?
Okay, Carl. Yeah, man. Let me finish up, man. I want to hear Glen Ford, man. This is a heck of a brother. But just to let you know, somebody needs to tell the story of what happened on Wednesday and what happened on Saturday, because these students are shut down, effectively shut down from being inside the event area on a day such as that, and raise their voices in a manner where they're protesting and demanding something of their government. This is outrageous to me. That, and I hope somebody else can call in and verify this and maybe even shed more light on it. But it's crazy to me to think that you would not allow these folk in and use the excuse that their banners and their signs are too large, and then turn them around and have them walk in circles outside of the event, shouting and yelling, let us in, and let freedom ring, things of that nature. I mean, it was just incredible. So, but don't forget, Carl, what I just told you about the international piece, and this might be my subjective opinion, but trust me, I think what they were doing was just trying to create the space that folk across the world will still look at America as a leader and a place to come and migrate to, because there's no real discomfort in this country according to the media coverage. That's important to keep in mind. But let me get off the phone because I want to hear Glen Ford, brother.
All right. Thanks, Freedom. Thanks for calling, and thank you for pointing that out for us, that there was a breakaway of the march on Saturday. Folks, the number to call, speak to Glen Ford, is 800-450-7876. You're online and holding. We will get to you. Glen, welcome back to WOL.
Thanks for allowing me back.
We got to read between the lines on that one. Glen, you wrote an article on your blog, the Black Agenda Report, The Dreamer with a Kill List. And before I let you go into that, just give me your assessment of President Obama's speech on Wednesday.
Well, first of all, he should not have been there. But in terms of his speech, it's the Obama formula. He's a very good speaker. He's poetic. He knows how to sing a song, and so he hit all the notes he wanted to hit in the first part of that speech. But part of the Obama formula is to hit all those notes that he knows his audience will appreciate, and then somewhere in the middle, whether it's in the middle of a paragraph or in the middle of a 15 or 20 minute speech, in the middle he switches up on you, and he says exactly the opposite of what he's was started off the paragraph or the speech saying, and he did it again. And so after all the lyricism of the first part of the speech, then in the latter part he says, and if we're honest with ourselves, we'll admit that over the course of the past 50 years, we lost our way. I'm editing him here. And he goes on to essentially blame black militancy, that is the message, for spoiling the good feeling and harmony that he says emanated from the 1963 march. He said that the spirit of brotherhood was drowned out by the language of recrimination, and what had once been a call for equal opportunity was now too often framed as a mere desire for government support. I guess we welfare cheaters now. And as if poverty was an excuse for not raising your child. And there he is back criticizing a black family and I suppose his version of the pathology of the ghetto. So he could not help himself. He had to do that. He had to put the blame for whatever went wrong racially after everything went right racially at the march. Holding the march out is some kind of a thing that existed by itself. Then came the people who dealt in racial recriminations, and we know who that is, and just spoiled the whole thing. And then the black pathological culture undermined us. And he even has a line in there about people committing crime when under the guise of opposing police brutality. It's just he threw the red meat to the white folks just in case they had become insecure about the poetry that he'd been reciting in the beginning of his speech to this black audience.
Wow. 800-450-7876. Hang on a second, Glenn. Is Lynette still with us? She's been holding for a while on line 5.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, Lynette. Well, your thoughts on you're on with Glen Ford. Well, I want to get your thoughts on the speech.
Well, I just wanted to say, I'm really kind of taken aback about a lot of the comments. It just sounds very emotional. And, I really, when I look back at it, I see that when any president or leader has actually taken the time to make a change for our people, we already had taken it into our own hands, and it was already going. And that's why, they were able to do that. So what I see is that, we've got so many groups of people trying to do things, but we're always competing against each other, and we can never get on the same page, or never, we never have enough numbers to make a difference. And that's the difference between what was going on in Martin Luther King's time and what's going on now. So all the president can do is, remind us of where we came from. The other thing is, with all of the single moms that we have, I work in a hair salon, I know what's going on in the communities. There are a lot of single moms, no men around. A lot of the men are still in prison or been to prison or on their way to prison, not paying child support, still don't have jobs. I mean, why are we crying about getting hit over the head about pulling our pants up? Obviously, we are not doing what we need to do to be taken seriously. We can't come together as a group. What do you expect Obama to be able to do? For our people, we're not going to get anything done until we do it ourselves. That's been our history. And I think even for other people of other colors, they come together and they make enough noise as one big group where they can, the president or whoever's in charge will take them seriously. So, we can cry about, what the president said and how he, keeps talking about what we need to do. What the leadership, the young men and, what our communities, the families are not doing. But it's true. The statistics show it. As a hairstylist, I'm talking to single women that cannot find someone to settle down with, can't get married, don't have, 3 and 4 kids. This is real. So we're not really being that active. So I don't know why you would expect the president to be able to make a difference. I don't know why that hasn't been history unless the people have done it first. That's what my point is. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Lynette. I'm going to give Glenn a chance to respond to what you just said. Glenn?
This president goes before no other ethnic group criticizing the culture of that group. This president would not go before an Irish gathering and talk pointedly about drinking. This president would not go before an Italian-American gathering and make allusions to organized crime and other stereotypical supposed behavior traits. But he feels free to do that in our community. And he does not do it out of tough love for black folks. He does it as a message to white people so that they don't think that he has loyalties to black folks, so that they feel that he has criticisms of black folks that are similar to their stereotypical and hateful criticisms of black people. So the real audience for these comments, which he makes to no other group but us, is white folks.
But he has those are valid points for the group that it's needed for. And the statistics show that, we've got a lot of family problems, and we're not going to be able to do much until we get our family basic small problems. They're not really small problems, huge problems, family problems. We can't go just and suddenly become this group of people that suddenly starts doing well. So why can't those comments be for who they're for? There's a group there. I'm a young woman. I can see very clearly that what he's saying has substance to it, and there's a group that will benefit from that, myself being included. But those people that are not going to benefit from it, it just sounds like the words are getting twisted up. It's for white people. What about the people that actually need to hear that? What's wrong with them saying that to those people?
If he was being even-handed and acting, I guess, as some kind of president father figure to all of us, he would be making similar kinds of critiques based upon stereotypical behavior to other groups.
Glenn, hold that thought right there, because we got to take a break. Hang on a sec, Glenn. We got to take a break. Sorry to interrupt you. 800-450-7876. Number to call. Speak to Glen Ford from the Black Agenda. We'll take your calls, folks, right after this short break.
This podcast was recorded by BKRPodcast.com.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. Of course, you can reach us on Facebook and Twitter at CarlNelsonShow.com. Our guest is veteran journalist Glen Ford. Number to call to speak to Glen is 800-450-7876. And Glen, I'm going to let you continue. You know how it is. It's radio. Got to get those commercials in.
And I'm sorry I talked over you like that. I should know better. I was saying that the sister seems to believe that black folks are the only group that deserves to get this special kind of attention from the president, and she's quite comfortable with it. But it is special attention. It is a negative kind of review by the president, who says that he's the president of everybody. The kind of review he doesn't give to anybody else but us. And who should be most appreciative? Who is most appreciative of bad-mouthing black folks? Well, white folks who don't like black people, and that's why he does it, and that's why it's part of his formula.
All right, is Lance still there? I think she's gone. But Glenn, let me ask you this: does he have to walk a tightrope? If white folks will say he don't want to talk bad about them because he's black. He's showing partiality to the black folks. They're always looking for that because once he got elected, he's going to do for the black people, and he's going to ignore the rest of America, which he's done the opposite. By the way, do you think that that's the tightrope that he's walking in, and he feels he has to? Okay, let me throw him a bone. Let me slap some black folks on the knuckles for a while, and then I'll keep on moving. Hopefully, black folks are smart enough to know that I have to do that.
I don't try to psychologically analyze President Obama as to why he does things in terms of how his mind works. I know what he does. I know who he badmouths and who he does not. If I am certain that if black folks complained loudly enough about this special treatment that we got, and if he thought that would result in a withdrawal of our near universal support for him, he'd stop doing it. But he doesn't do it to anyone else because he knows that there will be ramifications, serious problems if he talked to Irish people about getting drunk and Italians about the mob.
800-450-7876. Let's go to line 2. Ray's in New York City. Ray, you're on with Glen Ford.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Carl. And if you want to get in touch with Larry Ham, you should contact Bob Law, and he knows him, or Gary Bird, your fellow colleague at LIB, and he interviews him every now and then, so he could put you in contact with Larry Ham.
All right, thanks.
Right. Now, to deal with Mr. Ford, I agree with what Mr. Ford said. And I've heard you here on BAI in New York. I'm in New York, so I've heard you before. But I think the young lady, she's wrong. She's wrong because, like you just said, if he went to the Irish people and talked to them about mob activity, in a white mob, Irish mob, so Whitey Bulger was just convicted maybe a month ago in Boston, well, lets you know that the Irish mob is still alive and well. If he talked to you about white-on-white violence in the white community with the Italians, or white-on-white crime in the Jewish community that Charles Hines refuses to prosecute here in New York City because he doesn't want to upset the Jewish community here in New York City. Obama doesn't talk about that. If Charles Schumer, who is the number one Jewish politician in New York, in the United States, criticized the Jewish community for anything that they were doing wrong, he would never get elected, but he would never criticize them. He would never put the dirty lyric out there and open. Obama does it because I believe I heard it on your show, Carl, someone that said that it's good economics to criticize and to stomp on black people. I remember hearing, I think it was here in New York, they said that they was doing the Nixon administration, and I think it was the Attorney General who said that it's a terrible thing to go after black people and criticize them, criminalize them, but they would gain a great deal of political capital by doing that and criminalizing them instead, and imprisoning black people instead of having our rehab programs and that sort of thing. And that's what, they put out the whole locking people up for the past 40 years. Now, the thing is, this woman who just spoke, she talked about us developing ourselves. Well, look at the benign neglect that Moynihan report came out. As it was explained to me by a business mentor of mine, that was not about black people. He was really talking about the violence in the Irish community, and that's what he based his study on. Now, he flipped it around, but he was really talking about the criminality and the violence and the dysfunctionality in the Irish community. But people don't want to talk about that. Black people want to talk about, well, we need to clean up ourselves. Fine. But there's 65 to 70% of this country is still white people. There are more white criminals than white black people in this country. You don't hear even Negroes talking about white on white crime. You always want to talk about black on black crime. So, these people who want to give Obama a pass, why don't you give him a pass and send him and say, well, you're half white. Why don't you talk about your white side and the criminality of that? And by the way, no, I don't like Obama, and I do have a problem with people who are mixed mulatto like him because they have a problem with black people. And I went to school with people who are mixed blood, who are mulattoes, and yes, they did have a problem with black people, and they really did wish that they could be white, which they would never be. And they had a problem being with us, but we were the only people who let them come around us until we got tired of their nonsense.
Glenn, you want to respond to what anything that Ray said?
Well, his mulatto comment, I certainly don't appreciate because my mother was white.
My problem, brother. I know
who I am. However, in terms of the rest of the thrust, yes, I agree with the brother. And I'd say that, Carl, when you ask the question, doesn't he have to walk a tightrope? Well, he's walking something. He's walking the same path as the white politicians, as the brother was pointing out. It is always good politics to badmouth black people. When George Wallace was defeated in his first run for governor of Alabama, he said famously, "I will never allow anybody to out-nigger me again," because he knew that was how one won elections. Now, nowadays, folks don't use the N-word. I guess that's one of our great victories of the 60s, that we force that kind of language underground, although not the hatreds that are behind it.
Rappers do it all the time, and young people too. They think it's a badge of honor.
All right. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for your call.
Right.
All right. Let's keep stepping. Number call. Speak to our guest, Glen Ford. Let's go to line 3. James is in Maryland. James, you're on with Glen Ford.
Hello, Mr. Ford. I agree with everything you say. Why don't we talk about these guys who go around raping little boys and little girls and killing them, and then most all of them are white, and we don't need all that. If they're going to criticize, if the president is going to criticize somebody, he should criticize his white hair. It's not right. And that's
how about that? If we went by the numbers, then and the FBI will tell you, and every profiler, every criminal profiler will tell you that the people who commit the mass murders for no reason are almost all white males. So obviously white males, if you just go by numbers, have some kind of criminal murderous pathology. And if you're going to use the same rule as not only Obama uses, but Mayor Bloomberg in New York and Ray Kelly as police commissioner, that since black folks commit more crimes, or black neighborhoods are the locations of more crimes than white neighborhoods, and that therefore we have to make those into constitution-free zones, then they ought to have some kind of constitutional exception for white males, because they're liable to kill anybody for no reason.
They kill you. I tell you, be walking down the street and they don't like the way you look, he will shoot you in the head, man. I'm going to
Constitution. Of course, the Constitution is supposed to apply to everybody. But stereotypical language, especially coming from the highest office in the land, encourages the opposite. And it's so ironic that we give Obama a free pass on his political stands, and then he gets a pass to badmouth us that no other ethnic group would ever give him.
Hang on a second, James. So, Glenn, why do you think our so-called quote-unquote civil rights leaders don't say anything about that? Why don't they? Are they afraid to challenge him? I know Jesse tried once and looked like he got slapped down, but everything they say, they're the amen corner.
Well, that's back to the subject of this march. Essentially, the crowd that organized this march, and that's basically Al Sharpton. He was the man in charge. He's the administration's pit bull, and he's an annex, in fact, of the administration. Their goal is quite different than Martin Luther King's goal, or than Malcolm X's goal, than actual righteous strugglers in our community's goal. They are not about the business of confronting power. They are about the business of making a deal with power, of creating situations in which they can become as close to power as possible. They seek proximity to power. They see no problem with the most powerful person in the world, the President of the United States, becoming the voice that will be remembered at the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. Certainly it won't be Sharpton's voice. It'll be President Obama's voice.
Hang on, guys, because we got to take a quick break here. James, stay with us as well. Glen Ford is our guest. You can speak to him as well at 800-450-7876. We'll take your phone calls right after this short break.
This podcast was recorded by BKRpodcast.com.
And thanks for staying with us, folks. And, of course, you can reach us on Facebook and Twitter at carlnelsonshow.com. Our guest is veteran journalist Glen Ford from the Black Agenda Report. He's written a blog called The Dreamer with a Kill List. And that is the title of it. We're going to talk about that in a second. But right now we're speaking with James in Maryland. James, you still there with us?
Yeah. I want to say one more thing, and then I'm going to get off. I wish I hadn't voted for the man. He's just not a true person. The other thing I was wanting to criticize this fellow who was talking about mulattoes. I'm a mulatto, but I'm a black person. We don't consider ourselves different from other black people. That's crazy. If you're around somebody who's real light and they want to look you down, you got to get them straight. Tell them that's not right. And Obama is definitely not right down on black people. There's more criminals in the white world than there ever would be in the black world. That's my talk. I'm getting off. Nice hearing from Dr. Ford. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, James. I'll tell you what. Let's take one more call then when we get into your article. Let's go to Sandra on line 4 in D.C. Sandra or Sandra?
Either one. Sandra. That'd be fine. Oh, Carl, I couldn't agree with your guest anymore. It is so true. I think we need to measure success in the black community not by the first black president or a couple of black billionaires. We need to measure success about how the bulk of the people are doing.
So you agree with Glen Ford?
I agree with everything he's saying. I feel like I'm witnessing a buddy movie between the president and Al Sharpton. It seems like there's a buddy movie going on between them, and we're just witnessing it.
Well, let me ask you this, Sandra. Did you vote for the president?
Yes. Yes.
Both times?
I didn't vote not the last time. I didn't vote, period, last time, but,
So when did you get buyer's remorse?
Because, oh, gosh. But when he speak, I don't feel it. I don't feel the sincerity, you know. Everybody's saying he's such a great speaker. I mean, he gives great. I don't feel the sincerity.
All right. Thanks for your call. I'm going to Glenn handle all of that. And folks, we're not here to bash the president. I just want to get your real candid response to his speech on Wednesday. Some say it lacks specifics. Others say it was right on time. Glenn, you said he was the dreamer with a kill list. What do you mean by that?
Well, I use the dreamer term because he has been substituted for Dr. Martin Luther King in terms of this commemoration. He is the star. He occupies that place of the dreamer that was assigned to Dr. Martin Luther King in the first march. With the kill list, no, that's his list. He claims it. He made sure to tell us that he okays every name that gets put on it. What I was trying to say earlier is that if your goal in politics is to gain access to power, to be close to power, to be able to chat with power, to hobnob with power, then you must serve power. If your goal is to change the relationships between your people and power, then you must confront power. And so what we saw this weekend and yesterday was people who wanted, who treasured whatever special relationship they think they have with Obama. I don't think they really do have one. And who will avoid saying or doing anything that might upset that relationship they think they have or that they hope to have. So that in 2 days of speeches, you hardly heard the word war once. And it took a former president, Jimmy Carter, to actually talk for just a few seconds about war yesterday, because everybody knows that the administration doesn't want to talk about the subject of war, since it is, as Dr. King described the United States 45 years ago, the United States is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, and he is the commander-in-chief of that violence. And so when you talk about war, you're talking about him, and nobody wanted to say anything that seemed like it was speaking in anything like a negative manner about this president or his policies. So the whole issue of war, which Dr. King said was interrelated intimately with the issues of poverty, was just left out of the program. Black folks censored themselves or were censored by Al Sharpton so that subject never came up, and yet they were invoking Dr. King in every other paragraph.
Do you think the majority of people understood that there was something missing, something vacuous in this speech? There's just, it seems like we're just teetering around the edges and not really getting into the meat. Because it seems, I talked to the folks at the White House today, and they said they got overwhelming response. Maybe people like yourself and some of the callers we've had today didn't call and say they were disappointed, but they were saying they got a tremendous, overwhelming response for the speech. So why the disparity here in views?
Well, there's 300 million people in the country, and I would not expect any White House operative to say anything different to you. I wanted to call attention also to the fact that there weren't that many young folks who got FaceTime in front of the camera over those 2 days, but there were some young people who were booked to speak, and those were the folks from the Dream Defenders. Those are the young people who have been camping out, sitting in, doing direct action like Dr. King told them to in Tallahassee, Florida, the capital, at the governor's office, and making demands on the governor and that legislature. And a brother named Philip Agnew, who's leader of the Dream Defenders, was scheduled to speak on Saturday, and they cut him from the list. If you like to hear what he would have said in the 2 minutes that he thought he had allotted, you can go to The Nation magazine. That's at thenation.com. and he made a recording of what you would have heard on Saturday. The reason they didn't allow him, although some speakers were making direct reference to the Dream Defenders and their action in Tallahassee, is because in his remarks he did talk about war. His tone was militant. He sounded like he got his education. He did learn the lessons of the 60s, and not just 63, but 68 and everything in between. And that was unacceptable behavior, unacceptable rhetoric, even though his group is performing one of the few actual projects of direct action that's going on in the United States today.
Were you surprised that Minister Farrakhan was not invited?
No, I was not surprised at all. That would have created a potential problem for the administration, and the administration's people, Eric Holder and such, were all throughout the Saturday's speeches, as well as the ones on Wednesday, and I wouldn't even speculate that the administration told them not to allow him in. I think that Sharpton and others would censor the program themselves so as not to stand a chance of making this president uncomfortable. You see that they cut Reverend Jesse Jackson down to, he only got to speak 2 minutes and 45 seconds before his mic was cut off. And yet Eric Holder, the Attorney General, the person representing power, gets 30 minutes or all the time that he wants. So clearly, this was a gathering that was designed to advertise how close certain celebrities in the movement, or who call themselves movement people, have become to power. It was a celebration of their access and their proximity to power. And so the last thing that they would want displayed is any dramatic dissatisfaction with the way people in power are using that power.
But they've got to know that the community knows that if you're going to have a gathering of black leaders in this country, you've got to have Minister Louis Farrakhan. I mean, unequivocally, he can gather 1 million black men to the mall.
I was about to say he could gather 6 times as many as there were on Saturday. Of course, Farrakhan is a force in the black community, but he's unacceptable in the kinds of gatherings that we saw on Saturday. He's unacceptable because he's not acceptable to power. I think he's acceptable to most of the people who went to the mic on Saturday and on Wednesday. That is the black folks. But they know also that he's not acceptable to the president. And that's what's most important, and that's why this event should not be seen as a prelude to a renewal of a movement. It is anything but.
Hold that thought right there. Hold that thought right there, Glenn, because we got to take another break. Folks, you can reach Glenn Ford at 800-450-7876, taking a clear look at the marches Saturday and Wednesday. What are your thoughts? We'll take your calls right after this short.
This podcast was recorded by BKRpodcast.com.
And thank you for staying with us, folks, and our guest, journalist Glen Ford. Before we just move on from Minister Farrakhan, Richard Muhammad, the fellow who's the editor for the Final Call, says the minister has invited all the civil rights leaders for a meeting in Chicago, so we'll see if they attend that meeting, because it seems like he again, as usual, has become the litmus test, because we know that they all know each other. They know each other very well, most of them on a first-name basis. And it was just, to me, I was just like, wow, I took it for granted that he was going to be at the march, at least the one on Saturday. And I was kind of shocked that he wasn't there. It wasn't even invited. That kind of shocked me. I don't know about you, but you weren't surprised, right?
No, I mean, if the criteria for an invitation was to present as broad as possible a spectrum of black political belief and black activism in the country, well, of course, Brother Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, would have to be there if the goal of the event is to show that there is an alliance between the organizers of the event and the people in power, the Obama administration. Then, well, you're not going to do anything that might tend to embarrass or cause any kinds of political problems for that administration. And so, of course, Minister Farrakhan will not be there. But you know, if this was really about a kickoff to a new movement, as people kept on saying, then Brother Philip Agnew and the Dream Defenders would have been treated like rock stars, as a genuine manifestation of youthful, black, nonviolent militancy, commitment to struggle, people who are right now speaking truth to power and putting their bodies on the line in occupying space at the Florida Capitol. They would and should be treated like rock stars. Instead, they're cut from the list. Why? Because their presence there and the tone of their presentation, that is the militant tone, and their insistence on talking about war might not sit well with the administration, and therefore we just can't have that. So we see what the priorities are here. We see what Sharpton's priorities are. The Sharpton's priority is to say, I'm the man. I'm the guy who has the ear of the president. We work closely together. If you wanna get a message to him, you send it through me. If you have something bad to say about him, then you're going to have to deal with me. This has nothing to do with movement politics.
So where do we go from here as a people? What's the outlook?
Well, what we need to see is more organizing, like is happening in North Carolina. The resistance to the Republican legislature's fierce, offensive, and absolutely racist assault on black folks' rights, and black folks' dignity in North Carolina. And they've succeeded in mobilizing lots of different levels of people, a rather broad spectrum of activity, and that is the key to pulling in folks from different spectrums of black life and folks from outside our community, if possible, so that there is a germinating of ideas and a conversation that is about the subject of social transformation. This is where leadership comes from. I know that Brother Agnew is going to be a leader because other young people are flocking to this activity. They're drawn to other people who demonstrate that they want a change in society, and so folk that you would never meet, you meet under these circumstances where people have a commonality that is politically expressed and in words that are unmistakable. We're not going to have a movement that is led by or even polluted by the current black misleadership class. They are obstacles. They are not about social transformation. They're not about anything except securing some kind of niche with the power structure, and so they will resist every bubbling up of protest, bubbling up of new organizations. They're going to have to be pushed out of the way, and there's nothing strange about that. It happens in all societies and at all periods of actual change. So we'll see more from Brother Agnew, but one day soon we won't be referring to the Sharptons and such as our leaders anymore, because it will become quite obvious that they're not going anywhere. And I do think that not necessarily most folk who watch these 2 days on television feel a sense of loss, of unfulfilledness, but a lot of people do. And the people who feel most unfulfilled are the people who care about changing society the most. And they're going to be open to this new leadership that'll inevitably come forth.
Personally, I was happy to see.
Most of the people that we associate with the 60s Black Freedom Movement weren't at the 1963 March on Washington. They were still political beings in the forming, and it would take 3 or 4 years before they hit their stride and changed the way we looked at the world. Now, those people are forming right now. Most of their names we don't know, but we'll meet them. The pace of action at the grassroots is going to increase. The only reason that this administration, in terms of its Justice Department, Eric Holder, made his proposals for reforms, not legislation, but just a change in the way the Justice Department works, that are being heralded as reforms. The only reason that occurred is because of the explosion of black outrage over the Trayvon Martin saga as it unfolded. It scared this administration. It made them do things that they would rather not do and say things they'd rather not say. And that is without a real movement having yet emerged, but just an environment presenting itself that seems to be impregnated with the possibilities of a movement.
Well, personally, I was happy to see the Philip Agnews of the world, young black young black people getting involved in these social issues, because I kept saying, where are the young people? Where are the young people? Because, the geriatric age is out there and it's just about passé, and this world's going to belong to them, and we need strong young leaders like we had back in the 60s who want to foment change, who want to make change, who know where they're going. Not knocking the guys who have been there and have earned their stripes, because they've been there and they've done well. But sometimes there's a reluctance, as we all know, to pass the baton, and that's what we're seeing here. Why young Philip Agnew was not allowed to speak what he wanted to say on Saturday.
Black America and the rest of the country should have been introduced to that young man and the people that he represents. And it was Al Sharpton's doing that we didn't see him.
So if folks want to hear what he was going to say, again, Glenn, how can they do it?
That's at thenation.com magazine, their online version, TheNation.com, The Nation.
What are you working on next for your next blog?
Well, in our piece that came out yesterday, we didn't talk about the details of the president's speech. Our emphasis was on our position that he should never have been there, that it is heretical and totally out. Something that Dr. Martin Luther King would never tolerate, to have a president who is engaged in multiple wars and about to start another one, that he share a podium with a gathering such as that. And so that's what the focus of our article was, and we didn't take Obama's speech apart. Our next opportunity is on Wednesday, and we will.
And will you touch on?
I'm only one of a whole team of writers.
Right.
So.
Are you going to touch on this Syria issue as well?
Yes, and of course, it's not just the fact that this president is about to attack a sovereign nation that has done nothing to provoke the United States. It's that he is lying to the world, and the world knows it, and I believe much of America knows it, that there was no reason whatsoever for the Syrian government to even think about using a chemical weapon at that particular time.
Right.
UN inspectors were already there. The chemicals explosions occurred only about 10 miles from where the inspectors were. The Syrian government is winning its war. It has nothing.
Yeah, Glenn, but I hate to cut you because we just run out of time. But real quickly, tell folks how can they read your Black Agenda report?
Oh, just go to www.blackagendareport.com, and we have a new issue every Wednesday.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
It's veteran journalist Glen Ford.